Okay, we'll go ahead with this is, I guess, semi-formal or informal, however you want to look at it. Set up this public forum to allow people to come and express their feelings with regards to the tax issues as it pertains to the streets and/or a drug dog or dogs. And with this, at this point in time, I'd just like to kind of limit people to no more than 5 minutes because we have a half hour. And so be as succinct and concise as possible. I would appreciate that. And we'll go ahead and get started then. I have a name on here. I don't know if it's Jodine. It's from 237 Washington Street. Okay, come on up. I'm sorry. I couldn't make out the name.
How you doing today?
Good.
My name's Jacob Miller, and like you said, I live on Washington Street. I've been here for about 2 years in Salem. I'm actually here to support a friend because he's got a pretty good point when it comes to spending $213,000 on a dog for some drug dogs for the city. And so basically, he was supposed to kind of come before me, but I'll just get it out of there. Basically, I mean, I know of a lot of drug houses now, I'm sure we all do, that aren't being taken care of or, done anything about. I actually live close to a couple. And I don't feel like the dog issue would help as much for the money that's being spent on it. And like I said, that's in relevance to just coming here with him. But also on my own experiences that I've gone through since I've been in this town, I ended up getting arrested when my girlfriend beat me down in my house, a domestic issue. And I went to jail, even though I didn't put a hand on her, and I let her beat me down to where I was bleeding. And I was still arrested and charged for 9 months, and I didn't get to see my kids while that happened. And throughout this experience, I had just started college and going to college, all the way through. And this was the first day when I started college. I ended up graduating with straight A's in automotive technology. But in the end, throughout everything and not being around my kids and the depression and everything, I'm losing my house tomorrow. And they're going to sell it at the sheriff's sale. And I've gone about 9 months without gas, without, water for 4 months or so. And I've done nothing but help this community and helping the drug task force in several cases, which put my life on the line several times for this city. And every time I walk around, I got to worry about somebody putting one in me because I've helped this city and drug task force. And, I've been blackballed. I can't even get a job. I put an application everywhere in this whole entire town, and I can't find a job because it seems like it's all affiliated. And I've been kicked out of my local store, so I can't even walk there. I've been pulled over in my driveway and harassed by the police. And
So what's your thoughts on the income tax?
On the income tax? Well, my income tax is okay. I mean, just the dog issue, spending $213,000 on dogs to come in, and I don't think that it would be that efficient. I mean, what we're trying to target mainly is heroin, cocaine, crack, meth, the hard drugs that we know is destroying people's lives and severely addictive. I don't think that spending money on drug dogs would really help that situation. I think that really that would help with marijuana, but I don't think that's the hardest drug that's out there right now, or the most that we have to worry about right now, because I'm seeing people's lives completely change over heroin and turn to prostitution and everything else to try to get it, and it's a mind-altering drug. So And, I just don't think dogs can really help that. They found ways of really disguising that. They're on another levels, I mean, maybe the 213,000 should be spent on more technology and,
Okay.
because, to be able to look through peanut butter or whatever they coat these drugs in,
Okay.
instead of smelling, and then you could be precise instead of being able to extort as well.
Well, surprisingly enough, the 5 minutes go pretty quick.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the thoughts, though.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tom Harp?
Gentlemen, I'm opposed to all taxes, any kind. But if you're gonna have a tax, I'd rather have income tax because you gotta look at the old people on that side of the aisle. And if we're gonna have a tax, I'm gonna go along with a city tax, income. But property tax, they can't have it because of the benefits on us. People are going up and up and up and no end in sight. And I believe your budget's $257,000 for streets, and they look like you're intent on spending $216,000 for dogs. We got dumb criminals. One hadn't even gone to court and he got caught again. Another idiot called 911 because they beat him on a drug deal. So I'm opposed, but if you gotta have it, I'd rather see income tax, strictly for streets. Because, get down to it, giving the governing body money. I got a commitment from a couple people on the panel that promise if they do get the tax, it will go for streets. Nobody else has got their finger in it. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Next, Jeff Johnson.
Hi, thank you for your time. I'm here this evening to discuss my opposing views of the recent talks about introducing drug dogs to our police task force. While the thought of a drug being able to sniff out drugs is a nice thought, but the reality is that drug dogs are more times inaccurate than accurate. In a study conducted by UC Davis, the reliability of drug dogs were put to the test. The study consisted of 18 police dogs and their handlers. Then they were given the routine of going in a room and trying to sniff out drugs and bombs. The thing about it is the rooms were empty. Out of that, 144 runs total, only 21 times they actually didn't stop. So 85% failure rate with drug dogs. How can we consider such a costly investment in the city that yields such high failure rates? With all those figures I have gathered from the Salem News and police chief, the overall investment only in the first year is $218,892. This figure does not include routine costs such as health and food for those animals. After the first year, it is estimated off of the same statistics given that the first year would cost us an additional, the second year would cost an additional $111,000 again. These totals do not include the food and vet costs, and so that you can believe anything. However, when it comes to the facts, these are real and easy to obtain. Drug dogs more often than not are trained to sit on command, therefore creating a false flag to handler and allowing for a search that would otherwise be unwarranted and unconstitutional. This has been referred to as extortion. I am not discussing my opinion here today on that, only that the officers would act, if an officer would act in such a manner that would be a violation of the oath that they are sworn to, their duty to uphold the law, including constitutional laws. A prime example of this, on June 6, 2012, several Nevada police highway patrolmen and retired police officer filed a racketeering lawsuit against the Nevada State Highway Patrol, stating that the dogs were intentionally being trained to act on command, or as if trick ponies, as one officer would state. The officer stated that most of the times the dogs were acting on cue from the handler to execute illegal searches and seizures for financial benefits. These are critical facts and statements today in my argument. This allows too much potential for abuse. The potential for misuse is very high and easily taken advantage of. The threat of the future of criminal conduct is high, since most police dogs are trained to respond to false cues from handlers. thereby creating a program that would potentially become criminal in itself. With civil forfeiture laws, Americans who have not been charged with any wrongdoings can be stripped of their cash, cars, and even homes. This is what's happening now. In conclusion, I am highly opposed to the K-9 addition, and I feel that it is a bad investment for our city. I feel the money will be wasted in some of the searches and will be unwarranted under false flags created by handlers using cues to get dogs to react, therefore creating unconstitutional searches. Do not take my word, as many of you may just think I'm just another citizen with an opinion. Read the facts yourself and get educated about this. What our city needs is an outlet for these young kids and teens to find good mentors and programs. We have very little options as a whole, meaning very little money needed, and everyone can be included, saying that low-income families can do this. The city should consider spending $218,000 on after-school programs and summer programs to get these kids off the streets and doing things, keeping them motivated and active, regardless of their financial abilities. Boredom leads to curiosity, and curiosity leads to addiction. We all know where addiction leads, so I hope tonight you'll take my thoughts that I've expressed before you with real reflection afterwards. Please do the research before making such a big decision on a big issue, and make proper decision based off only the facts. I appreciate the police officers in Salem, as I've seen no criminal issues pertaining to their operations. This is not an attack on the police department as a whole. The potential for misuse is my major issue here. I am not stating that it will happen here either. However, it would be very easily and with little regard known. With such high cost and risk to freedoms allowed to us by our forefathers, this seems like a bad decision overall long-term from Salem, and I am highly opposed to it. I thank you today for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next, Susan Drotliff.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am a City of Salem taxpayer. However, I do not live in the City of Salem, and I do not live in Perry Township. I live out in Butler Township. But I am employed by a business here in Salem, and as such have the 1% income tax withheld from my paycheck. To be perfectly honest, when I saw that City Council was discussing improving the streets and the possibility of the drug dogs and whether it would be an income tax or property tax, I thought, now how is this going to benefit me as someone who lives outside of the city coming into town here to work? Well, I can assure you there is no drug problem in my place of employment. They're pretty careful there about those kinds of things. The streets, yes, I do drive over the streets to get to my place of employment. But to be perfectly honest, I really don't see where an extra 0.5% being withheld out of my paycheck is going to help me. Better streets, eliminating drugs, to me it seems are going to benefit the property owners in the city of Salem. I know one councilman, as I read the information from prior meetings, one councilman was said that they weren't in favor of a property tax because you have people that live in rental properties and they would get to vote on it, but they've got no skin in the game. Well, guess what? I've got skin in the game, but I don't get to vote on it either because I live outside of the city of Salem and I live outside of Perry Township. So I would ask you to strongly look at who is going to benefit the most. And I don't think it's the low-level employees of businesses in the town that should have to cop an extra 0.5% out of their paycheck to pay for what you're wanting to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Patty Colin.
Well, this income tax is 47 years old. I know that because it was came into inception when I graduated from high school. I think it's time that we raise it to 0.25% so that we can get our streets fixed. I think we need to start small where the drug dog excuse me, is concerned and go with 1 and not 2. I know what the cost is very high for the drug dog. The cost is very high for the paving of our streets, and if we don't do something, how are we ever going to get new businesses to come to our town with our streets being the wreck that they are? So I'm very much in favor of the 0.25% income tax. I'd like to see the dog put maybe on a safety levy. I think that would probably be the better way to go, but that I will leave up to council to figure out for themselves, but I think that would help if you put it on a safety levy. And if you put everything on the ballot for people to vote on, you're going to confuse them. You're going to have them so confused, they'll just go down the line and mark everything no. And you're going to have to go out and sell it. You're not going to be able to say, well, this is what we want. You're going to have to get up, go knock on doors and say, this is what we need. And you're going to have to prove it. So I would hope that everybody gets behind it because we really do need it. Thank you.
Thank you. That is all the people that signed in, but I know some other people came in afterwards, and we went through those people quicker than what I anticipated. Not everybody used up the 5-minute period of time allotment. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the body with regards to the income tax or taxing? Well, I know some people that had indicated that at the last meeting that of the committee of the whole, that they didn't get to address the committee of the whole, weren't recognized, of which it's the committee's prerogative with regards to that, and especially when you have a committee of the whole meeting, it's difficult to have everybody on the committee state their opinions and go over everything and then recognize people in the audience, and technically doesn't have to be that way, and that's why we were doing the public forum. But I know that some of the people that complained aren't here this evening either to state whatever they were going to have stated at that point in time. We wanted to do this to give the public the opportunity to state their opinion, possibly give us ideas with regards to it. I appreciate those that did attend and did state what they thought about the different things with regards to this. As I stated, the floor still is open if anybody does want to address this. Does anybody, this is the informal meeting that we're having. Does anybody want to address what was stated with regards to this, or just save that for the committee of the whole meeting? Mr. Nestor?
I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the gentleman that spoke against the property tax. Tom? Tom, if a property tax was on the ballot, or an income tax was on the ballot, since you don't pay an income tax, would you then refrain from voting on it?
Go ahead.
100%. What'd you say?
Tom, if an income tax was on the ballot, since you don't pay an income tax, would you refrain from voting on it?
Probably.
Okay.
I pay property tax, and you want to shaft me?
No, it's not a shafting. I'm just asking, because it's just the concept of voting a tax on your neighbor is what I'm talking about.
If you have an income tax, like you say, it don't affect me, you're at that age.
Mhm.
But I just don't like the idea of property taxes because there's people that can't afford it. It's ongoing. And everything is going up, up, up. Even if you've got good insurance, your prescriptions, what I paid $20 for, now I'm paying $100.
Mhm.
So they'll probably get me, but if you have to have it, I just still want it. However you do it, it's got to go for the streets and nothing else.
That's the issue we're grappling with, is if it's an income tax, it can go into the general fund and eventually be used for anything.
That's bad news there. Nobody said that before.
It's the truth, Joe.
Huh?
It's the truth.
So now we got to go to property tax.
Property tax is the only thing that
So-
can be specifically levied just for that and then has to be used for that. That's why this is a tough decision for us.
Well, who controls the money?
Basically,
Who's ever in council?
council controls the money, and the thing that you could have this council promise you and the citizens that it's only going to be used for streets and roads. You get a whole
Oh,
new
we
group
got
in
that in
here,
Washington. What the
and
heck?
then they could do something different with it.
But what's the county do on it?
What's that?
The county has something to do with the property tax.
It's a complicated process, and it goes a lot of different ways with regards to that. This doesn't, property tax just doesn't go to the city. And I couldn't give you the formula in that.
So
but
if you have a property tax, it's still got to go for the streets.
That is correct. It
not
would have to
who
go
owns
for
the
that.
street.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bishop.
Mr. Nestick brings up a valid point, Mr. Harper, that money can and does stand the risk of being absorbed into other
Okay.
activities.